I guess the last one is I want to come back on finance and some of the problems that finance creates as we try to be innovative. And the first piece that I think the finance people get wrong is what we learn in economics and finance, where we're told that we should ignore sunk costs and fixed costs and just look at the marginal cost and the marginal revenue associated with an investment. And when you only look at the marginal cost and instead of the full cost of investments, it always appears as if the marginal cost solution is advisable. Now, I've told you the story about the mini mills coming up from the bottom of the market and disrupting the integrated steel companies. In my course, we have a case about U.S. Steel, which is the largest of the integrated steel companies in America. And at the time of this case in 1979, what had happened is that U.S. Steel Corporation had gotten out of all of these products, and all that they're making now is sheet steel. And the largest of the mini mill companies, called Nucor, announced that they're going to make a mini mill to make sheet steel. And they could do it at 20% lower cost. Well, the head of engineering at U.S. Steel pulled his team together and announced, ladies and gentlemen, we're doomed. Because we have been improving profitability step by step as we have gotten out of everything. But now all that we have left is sheet steel. There's no place upward to go. And Nucor is going to build a mini mill, and they're going to kill us. The only option we have is to build a mini mill ourselves. And so they put together the numbers, and it actually looked very attractive because the existing integrated steel companies, they could sell this for $350. The cost was $340, and so they're just hanging on with their fingernails. If they could make this in a mini mill, the reduced cost of 20% causes the net profit to increase by more than 6x. And you never see these numbers in the steel business. And so the proposal that they should build their own mini mill just sailed through the organization until it came to the chief financial officer. And he looked at this and he said, I can't believe that smart people like you would ever propose this, because we have 30% excess capacity in our existing mills. If you want to roll an extra ton of sheet steel, use it in our existing mills, because the marginal cost of making one more ton of sheet was only $15. So you tell me, does it make sense to build a mini mill or just use our existing products, our existing plants to do an incremental ton? And the head of engineering ashamedly said, well, I didn't get an MBA from Wharton, and so I just don't know things like this, and I'm sorry I bothered you. And they never built a mini mill. Well, what subsequently happened is making that mini mill cost $200 million. Nucor, which built the mini mill, has generated so far about $4 billion of free cash flow. And so they generated 20 times more cash than it would have cost to make it whole. And this is always the problem with marginal cost thinking, is that when you look at it on a marginal cost basis, it makes all the sense to use what we have rather than create something new, because the marginal logic beats the full cost logic every time. But what they never figure out is almost always you pay the full cost anyway, but you don't have a mill. And so that's when we learn about ignoring sunk costs and fixed costs and just look at the marginal cost and marginal revenue, almost always that's the problem. And then one other problem that they create for us, and then I'll quit, is net present value. And those of you who suffered through learning how to use net present value, what you do is you plot here the marginal, the magnitude of cash flows from very positive to very negative over time. And you assume by the math that if you don't do something, the way things are today is the way things will be in the future. And then with that base logic, which is the base case of doing nothing, you measure the free cash flow, which is negative, and then it turns positive, that comes from investing in this innovation. And they assume then, by net present value and discounted cash flow, that this is the benefit of making that investment. There's just something that is subtly wrong with that logic, and that is, it's rare the case that the way things are today is the way things always will be. In fact, this is what the future looks like if we don't invest in innovation. But the math only reveals that much. And as a consequence of that, companies invest far less in innovation than they should because we're deceived by this logic of net present value. And it's just really important that we realize that this is working against you. Bruno, I'm finished. You're welcome.